What's going on? 22 here, bringing you the top 10 books of 2024. Now, I have searched all through Cover Price's top 10 list throughout the entire year to compile this list of 10 books that I feel like are the top 10 books of 2024. So, let's get this started. Coming at number 10, we have got Ultimate Invasion number 1. Now, this featured the first appearance of the Peter Parker that would be the Ultimate Spider-Man in the new Ultimate Spider-Man universe and run. This book stayed on the top 10 list for 3 weeks total. That stayed at the number 1 spot for 1 week, it stayed at the number 2 spot for 1 week, and it stayed at the number 7 spot for 1 week. Ultimate Spider-Man kicking off as hard as it did, I believe, is what put this book on the list, and it featuring, of course, the first appearance of said Peter Parker is the main driving point of why I think this was on the list and for as long as it was. Coming in at number 9, let me know if you remember this book right here, Dazzler number 1, that spent a grand total of 3 weeks on the top 10 list, 2 weeks at number 1 and 1 week at number 4. Now, this, of course, came on the list because of the rumors that we would get Dazzler in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie that were just that, just rumors. That never came about and that never happened. Now, is that to say that Taylor Swift will never show up in the MCU as Dazzler? No, it's not saying that. However, none of those rumors were true. So that's what put this book on the list and for as long as it was. Coming in at number 8 is the infamous Iron Man number 1 that spent a grand total of 4 weeks on the top 10. 1 week at number 1, 1 week at number 2, 1 week at number 6, and then 1 week at number 10. Now, this popped off because of the news that Robert Downey Jr. would be joining the MCU once again, not as Iron Man, but as Doctor Doom. So the rumors came out that we'd be getting a Doctor Doom version of Iron Man, and the infamous Iron Man is when Doctor Doom actually takes up the mantle of Iron Man. So it's actually a fantastic series written by Brian Michael Bendis. I love it, absolutely loved it. It was a great, fantastic read. If you haven't read it, you should definitely try to pick it up at a reasonable price and read it. I think anyways, it's my recommendation, but that's why it stayed so on the list for so long. Coming in at number 7 is the Uncanny X-Men number 251 with this iconic artwork from Mark Silvestri. It spent 4 weeks on the top 10 list, 1 week at number 1, 1 week at number 2, 1 week at number 4, and 1 week at number 6. Now, the Deadpool and Wolverine movie is the reason why this book made it to the list at all. This cover is depicted in the movie, so spoiler alert on that if you haven't seen it already. But that's the driving factor of why this book made it to the top 10 and stayed on there for as long as it did. Coming in at number 6, we've got something a little bit different that's actually a little hard to kind of pinpoint where it should be, but this is where I finally put it and I feel pretty good about it. It is Mark Spears' Monsters number 1. Now, the A cover spent 2 weeks at number 1, 1 week at number 6, and 1 week at number 7. However, if you include the second printing cover that spent 1 week at 7, 1 week at 8, 2 weeks at 9, and 1 week at 10, that would give you a grand total of 9 weeks. Now, I put it at 6 because it did have more number 1 weeks than the previous books we've already gone over, and I didn't put it up any higher because the other numbers would have been counting this second printing. I do think that needs to be acknowledged, though, because it is the same exact book. However, the cover difference being there is what kept it from being up higher in this top 10 list. Mark Spears' artwork has just gone bananas, and people are loving it and enjoying it. He's put out so many covers for this Monsters 1, especially with the second printings and the ratios and all that jazz. People are loving it, but how long will that be able to last? How long will people love it and hold on to it? Y'all let me know down in the comments what y'all are thinking of Mark Spears and his artwork, and will it last and continue to make top 10 lists in 2025? Coming at number 5, we've got Ultimate Spider-Man number 2, spending 4 weeks in the top 10. 3 of those weeks being at number 1, with 1 week being at number 2. Now, this was the second issue, obviously, of the much anticipated Ultimate Spider-Man #1 that came off with a hit and everybody loved it. So, of course, #2 is going to make the list. Now, is that a precursor to #1 being on the list? Maybe. We'll see. And even if it does, what position will it be? Because there's lots of other books that have come off like gangbusters that we've yet to talk about. So, as we start to crack this top 5, start thinking about those books that have not been listed yet, and should they have made this list. One that I think a lot of y'all were anticipating when watching this video here is Absolute Batman #1. It spent a grand total of 7 weeks on the top 10, 2 weeks at #1, 2 weeks at #2, 1 week at #3, and 2 weeks at #4. Everybody is loving this new version of Batman by Scott Snyder, and has shown it by their support with their dollars. Are you one of those people out there? Are you enjoying the Absolute Batman and what Scott Snyder is putting out there as this new Batman for the Absolute Universe? Coming in at #3 is the Ultimate Black Panther #1, which spent a grand total of 9 weeks on the top 10 list. 2 weeks at #1, 3 weeks at #3, 1 week at #4, 1 week at #5, 1 week at #9, and 1 week at #10. Now, this featured the first full appearance of the Ultimate Universe Black Panther, and I think this came off of the hype. It was the second #1 title to be released of the Ultimate Universe right after the Ultimate Spider-Man #1, so it was the hype of Ultimate Spider-Man #1 and the new Black Panther getting introduced on top of that I think drove this to be on the top 10 list so much so in 2024. Coming in at #2, I'm wondering if y'all have forgotten about this one-shot comic that made it to the top 10 list, and that is none other than Doom #1. Now, this stayed on the top 10 list for 10 weeks total. 2 times at #1, 2 times at #2, 4 times at #5, 1 time at #7, and 1 time at #9. Now, this does not include the one time that it made the list with its Adi Granoff cover at #4. I omitted that one completely. I just want to make note that, like, yes, this did have different covers, and yes, those other covers did make the list as well. Again, more of just it being Dr. Doom, the news of Doom coming to the MCU, the timing of when this book came out, I think had everything to do with this book making the list. And finally, coming in at #1, I'm sure you all have guessed it by now, but it is, of course, Ultimate Spider-Man #1, spending 12 weeks total on the top 10 list. 3 weeks at #1, 3 weeks at #2, 2 weeks at #5, 1 week at 6, 1 week at 7, and 2 weeks at 8. This came on the scene, and this was everything that every Spider-Man fan seemed like they wanted. They wanted an adult Peter Parker that was married to Mary Jane, that had kids, that was Spider-Man. Progression of the character is all that I kept hearing about. And I'm not a Spidey fan, but I'm glad that everybody got what they wanted from this book finally for this character. So sound off in the comments, how many of these books do you have in your collection that you chased after? Are you still enjoying them? Are they top 10 worthy books of 2024? Now, let me know down in the comments what you think are going to be the top 10 of 2025. What are you hyped about this coming out this coming year, and what do you think will make that top 10 list? YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video right here if you want some more nerdiness to watch, so please check that out. Let me know what you think down in those comments. You can find me on Instagram, eBay, Shortbox22_comics, Comically Comics Podcast on all podcatchers. Thank y'all so much for watching, and as always, y'all have a good one.